Welcome in. It is time every day as we at this time talk with trial attorney Carl B. Grant about testimony in the Alex Murdaugh trial, and now becoming even more compelling because the defense has rested its case. That means we are closer to moving this thing, Carl, to the jury. Yes. Two big developments today. John Marvin Murdaugh, his brother, took the stand. Also, Judge Newman revisited what Dick Harpootlian talked about at the very beginning of wanting the jury to go to the crime scene. Let's start with that, because I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind that, because they won't be able to take pictures. There won't be any presentations. I mean, literally, as it was described today, they're just going to go and kind of walk around. Clearly, over the last couple of years, the landscape literally has changed some. So what's the defense trying to accomplish?
Judy, I want to show my age here. In 1995, I tried a capital murder case, and I made the same motion. Oftentimes, you cannot appreciate time, distance, and space just by a mere picture. And sometimes it requires the jury to actually go to the scene to truly appreciate all of that. And I made that same motion in 1995 in a capital murder case. So that's the purpose of the motion.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do find that interesting, especially since this is being tried in Colleton County, where Alex Murdaugh and his family has a big presence. And I just want to go back to an original question that I've been seeing pop up again. Can you explain why the prosecution would still want that case to be tried in Colleton County, in a place that people now know as Murdaugh territory?
Let me explain the process when it comes to change of venue and how it works. Either side can move for a change of venue, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. But it's so unusual for the prosecution to move for a change of venue that the defendant is so popular that he can't even be tried in the county where he resides or the place where the incident occurred. And that's unusual. However, the process is this. Either side makes the motion, assuming you cannot come to an agreement. If you can come to an agreement, then you agree to either do a change of venue or a change of venire, like I've talked about, where you pick the jury in a totally different county. But let's imagine you can't agree to that. And of course, the defense would say, why would we agree to have this man tried somewhere outside of Colleton County when this is essentially his backyard? So if they don't agree, then the process is this. You must at least attempt to go forward and try to select the jury. And if you can't get the jury, based upon everything, the totality of the circumstances, then and only then is the situation right for the judge to rule on a change of venue motion.
Wow, that is so interesting, Carl. You still got me thinking about this trip out to Moselle because, you know, when you talk about the time and distance, Alex Murdaugh says that he drove the golf cart, you know, out to the kennels, and that he rode that golf cart back to the house. And in my mind, I'm wondering, you know, you're out in the middle of the country. How could he not have heard, you know, those gunshots? So I'm wondering what will be in the jury's mind. They won't be able to get out there and fire a gun to demonstrate any of that, but there's going to be a lot for them to contemplate.
Yeah, the jurors cannot actually even talk to each other while they're out there. They must do their own individual observations. The lawyers can be there, but they can't talk to them, obviously. The police officers are there to essentially provide security. So they must be there and provide their own observation, come to their own conclusions, and not discuss them until they begin the deliberation of the case. But you got to be careful when you ask for that. It may come back to bite you. Be careful what you ask for. Because if some jurors may have a different perspective than what you may think they may have, and they may go out there and say, well, oh, I didn't realize this, and that hurts you. So you got to be real careful about that.
Now, can a jury ask questions while they're out there?
No,
at all?
They cannot. They cannot ask any questions.
Like a silent field trip.
Isn't that interesting? And so I'm wondering what, you know, court TV and everybody's going to do, because obviously they can't show that part live on TV for the risk of showing a juror, right?
Exactly. I think the judge is going to probably shut down the highways, block the roads so that nobody can be there but the judge, the jurors, the lawyers if they want to, and the security.
Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Let's talk about John Marvin Murdaugh. Alex Murdaugh's brother took the stand today. I wasn't sure how hard the prosecution would go at him on the cross. It was pretty basic. I don't think it was too aggressive. What's your assessment?
My assessment is they did as little as they needed to do. You don't want to be too aggressive to, again, his nephew, his sister-in-law.
A sympathetic witness.
That's exactly right. It's a sympathetic witness, and if you beat up a sympathetic witness, the jury can get upset and hold that against you in deliberations. So they did as much as they needed to do.
Interesting.
And what is the benefit or the significance of bringing his brother on? And I ask because John Marvin Murdaugh his name has also been caught up in some controversies related to his brother. So if anyone had knowledge prior to other events before the murders of Maggie and Paul. I'm wondering how that would play with the jurors.
Well, his brother is brought to tell the sympathetic story, to draw sympathy, because his brother can get on there and talk about the sadness, of course, of the sad incident that happened. And boy, what about the horrific story and narrative about him cleaning up his nephew's brains?
Oh, my
and
God.
body?
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Yeah.
just horrible.
It was.
I mean, that cuts
It
right at the
was.
heart. But the more important thing, though, is how is the jury going to look at this evidence?
Right.
Of course, we heard evidence today from the experts about now the possibility of two shooters. The question the jury have to decide is, was Alex Murdaugh one of those two?
Exactly.
That's the ultimate question.
You know, and was news on Friday, and we're working to get more information about a new charge that has been brought against Alex Murdaugh for contraband in the courtroom. You know, we've covered the fact that I think it was his sister or someone who handed him a book, which anything that you hand him, you know, is considered contraband. And you talked before about how did the bailiffs even allow that to happen. And even with his son Buster, because of a gesture made in the courtroom, the judge has ordered him to move several seats back. Not sure how that will impact if the jury's even noticed, you know, or what questions they have about that. We are out of time, Carl, but I've got to ask you this. For the state's reply case, what are we expecting there for them to try and really put an emphasis on closing this out with the jury?
I would imagine, of course, I'm not part of the team, but I would imagine just based upon experience that they may want to reply to this argument of two shooters.
Okay.
So call your crime scene expert back. Maybe Kenzie will get back on the stand to rebut some of the things that the other guy said. And who knows, maybe even the pathologist, because they challenged her opinions
They
also.
did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, and I think that's really the crux of their case as far as the prosecution's case, other than the fact that the worst thing Alex Murdaugh did was admit that he was actually at the kennel. That's
He
a
did.
gut punch to the defense counsel, and sometimes, as the trial lawyer, you got to save your client from him or herself.
All right, Carl, thank you so much.
Yeah, you laid it out so well. We will continue, of course, to follow every moment of the trial, resuming tomorrow.